Darling in the Franxx episode 20 was bad. I can't mince my words. I can't put it any lighter than that. It was straight up bad. After following the series since the beginning and covering it week by week, talking about its emotional highs and lows, even at one point straight up crying because the series made me care about these two characters coming together, it should be apparent that I am the last person who wants to say that what Nishigori, A1, and Trigger are doing with this series is bad. Even at its worst, and even when I had complaints, I never felt like the series was ever bad. So how does one episode, how do the plot reveals in this episode change all of that? What did they do to have the series quality dip so horribly? Well, I think I can sum it up quite nicely with one question. What the fuck is going on? People have predicted and speculated on Darling having twists in the future, as is customary with these Trigger shows. But it's been a long time since I've seen something so blatantly shoehorned in for literally no reason, resulting in nothing but confusion and disappointment. Imagine following this series for 6 months at this point, only to have the final act revolve around something that was not only not built up at all, but not even mentioned at any point throughout the series. This is one of the worst plot twists and narrative arcs I've seen in anime in a long time, and is a spit in the face to anyone who was trying to follow the cohesion of events in this series. And I've seen this going around a lot, so I just want to address it. The people who keep saying, the series has never been good, so who cares? A lot of people, including myself, would disagree with that, just like I know a lot of people would disagree with me on this. But at least the first 19 episodes of this series had a flow to it. Things made sense, and if you followed and picked up on the hints throughout the series, you were rewarded because it felt like the creators were thinking of these things ahead of time. This though? This? Aliens? Virm? Nothing about this belongs in the series. It doesn't feel rewarding. It doesn't feel like a satisfactory twist. If anything, it's a disgrace to the final act that they were building up previously. No joke, it almost feels disrespectful how jarring they began this episode and how much of a mess it devolved into over the course of 24 minutes. It almost feels like you missed an episode in between this and 19, it's so bad. We begin talking about the basis of our entire mission, keeping Klaxosaurs away from a weapon called Star Entity, a completely new element in the story that is now integral to both the final act and our characters, despite never having heard its name or its presence ever being alluded to us in the past. What's even worse than how out of nowhere the plot developments in this episode were though, is how atrociously written and paced it all is. You guys remember my complaints about episode 19? How I felt like that episode was rushed and could have been split into 2 episodes instead? This episode makes that one look like a fucking turtle with how rushed it is. Let's say for a moment I'm okay with these plot developments, that these belong in the series and are a fitting setup for the conclusion of the story. Even with all of that in mind, this episode tries to cram in so many plot elements and revelations that it ends up feeling like a clusterfuck. One moment we're learning about Star Entity, the next we're seeing Nana's replacement, the next we're learning that there's more to Hero's origins than we thought, the next Zero Two is almost killed, the next we're learning about an ancient civilization of Klaxosapiens, the next the Klaxosaur princess partners with Hero and transforms the Strelitzia into almost a dark Strelitzia. The next Virm is revealed. The next Papa is revealed to be Virm. It's way too fucking much, and it leaves the audience disoriented. And not in a good way. These reveals should be met with surprise. I should feel the emotional and dramatic stakes, not just be flabbergasted at what the fuck is unfolding before my eyes. One defense I'm sure I'll see are the things that they did set up, which I'll admit there were some interesting payoffs to some of the buildup that we've gotten in the past, such as the human-like cores we've seen coming out of the Klaxosaur corpses, or the chromosomes that Dr. Franxx found in these corpses to begin with. However, every one of these payoffs are basically shown to be irrelevant in comparison to what they truly wanted to do with this final arc to begin with. In other words, aliens. However, what's even more blatant than how rushed all of these plot developments are, or how out of nowhere all of this is to begin with, is how fucking lazy it's being written, explained, and devolved into. I don't know about you guys, but again, even if I were digging these reveals and plot information, I don't want to have it spoon-fed through out-of-place exposition. It's so goddamn trite, and it makes what were already really poor narrative decisions even worse. I think what really puts all of this into perspective, and what honestly makes it even more insulting, is that this is a fucking 2-core series. This is 24 episodes. They had more than enough time to set up an alien invasion if that's really where they wanted to go. And it's only when you look back on the series that you realize how many episodes were truly wasted that could have gone to much more important plot threads. Episodes 7, 8, 9, and 11 were all incredibly isolated character-driven episodes that could have not only been cut in half, but also used to foreshadow some of these things ahead of time, as opposed to the character of the week shit that they decided to do. They could have found remains or hints that alluded to the existence of the Klaxosapiens in the past, or indications of battles on the planet that showed signs of Virm from the past. On top of that, there were many episodes in this second half, like episode 14, that were dragged out and almost completely pointless in their role in the overarching story, prolonging 02 from reuniting with Hiro for no reason. Or the episodes 16 through 18 focusing on their home life for a little bit that, while enjoyable, easily could have been cut down to make room to actually build up this overarching story. I come up with these alternatives or any number of options they could have taken because I do genuinely care about this series, and what they actually decided to go with just feels so poorly thought out. If you couldn't tell, words cannot even describe my disappointment with where they decided to take the story of Darling in the Franxx. As someone who's followed and covered the series for so long, it just feels disrespectful and flat out stupid. The question I ask myself at this point is, do I think the following episodes will be this bad? And the answer I find myself coming to is no. In fact, I think the following episodes could be quite good, especially now that they've gotten the horrible exposition and this incredibly poor transition into an alien arc out of the way. But there's no denying that they've dampened a lot of my emotional investment in this story and these characters, and it hurts to even say that. I know quite a few of you actually enjoyed this episode, so I would be very interested to hear why you liked it in the comments below. Please though, go about it in a constructive way. I don't look down on any of you who actually enjoyed the episode, so I hope you'll do the same for me. Right now, I just feel an immeasurable disappointment, and I had to talk about it. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen to what I had to say. If you appreciated what I had to say to any capacity, I would be very happy if you liked the video, and make sure to subscribe to see more of my Darling coverage and reviews in the future. I'll definitely hope for the best in regards to if they can salvage this ending. And of course, as usual, have a great day.